Loves, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to learn how to cut this gathered corset or a shoulder cut corset. I don't know what you call it, but this is what I normally call it. So for this style you are going to need about 1.5 yards of a plain fabric and 1 yard of Ankara or lace, depending on the fabric that you want to use. This is just for the upper part. So the first thing that we are going to do is the pattern drafting. After the pattern drafting, we will do our cutting and sewing. So let's dive right into it. So my shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2, that is 7.5, plus half an inch seam allowance, that is 8. I will mark 8. Then from there I will mark my chest line. My chest line is 8. I'll mark 8 inches for chest line, 10 inches for bust point, 13 inches for the under bust, 16 inches for the half length, and 18 inches for allowance. I love adding 2 inches allowance. I love having enough allowance at my half length. So I'll go ahead and connect these lines. If you have a basic bodice already, you don't have to draft this pattern because it will make the pattern drafting, the cutting, easier and shorter for you. So I'll go ahead and connect my lines. So after connecting these vertical lines, I'll go ahead and connect my shoulder to my chest line or my armhole line, depending on what you call it. So I'll slant my shoulder by 1 inch. Remember to slant your shoulder. I'll come down by 1 inch and I'll connect it to my neckline. So after doing that, I will go ahead and mark my dart. For this style, I'll use a normal dart. I will not do the whole princess cut and all that. So at the half length, I'll come in by 4 inches. 4 inches is my dart line. So this 4 inches line, I will subtract half an inch on both sides. Mark your dart on your half length. Do not mark it on the allowance. So after doing that, I'll connect this dart line to meet the bust point line and the allowance line. It will stop at the bust point. Then I'll connect my half-inch lines to the bust point. Then I'll connect to my allowance from there. So this is our dart. Our dart is set. So the next thing that I'll do is to determine the midpoint of my armhole. That is 4. The midpoint of 8 is 4. Then from there I'll connect my armhole. Sorry guys, I couldn't find my armhole curve, so I'm drawing my armhole freehand, but that doesn't matter for now. Let's leave it like this for now. I'll still trim the armhole after joining. So you take your body measurements. My bust is 33 divided by 4 plus 2 inches. I'll mark what I got. Then my waist is 27 inches divided by 4. That is 6.75 plus 2 inches seam allowance plus 1 inch for that. Remember to add your 1 inch for that before the 2 inches seam allowance. Then I have cut what I have out. I'll go ahead and slant my shoulder. So after doing that, I'll cut my back pattern. So I'll introduce a fresh pattern paper. The front and the back pattern will be the same. The only difference is the zipper allowance. The back part will have a zipper allowance. If you want to tie this at the back, like if you want to lace it at the back, you will not add this zipper allowance. There is no need for a zipper allowance. The front and the back will be equal. If possible, the back should be lesser than the front. So I'll draw my zipper allowance line. Then I'll go ahead and label it. This is zip allowance so that it will be clear. So I'll introduce the front back and notch my dart line. Then I'll draw my chest line. The chest line is the only line that I will mark at the back. Then I'll extend this 4 inches dart line to the chest line and then subtract half an inch on both sides of the dart. We all know how we normally do our normal dart cutting. So we have the front and the back, they are ready. So the next thing that we are going to do for our front is to mark our neckline. So our neckline is 4 inches. If you want to make it 5, fine, no problem. So you will determine your neck depth. The neck depth is 7. I want to use 7, but if you want your own to come down, if you want your neckline to come down, you can make it 8 or 9 inches, but for this one I made it 7 inches. So from that point where you measured the 7 inches, you will come in by 0.75 inch. Come in by 0.75 inch. You will do the same thing at the underbust. You come in by 0.75 inch on the underbust. Then you connect this line. You connect the 0.75 inch. Then from there you connect it down to the underbust. Come in by 0.75 at your neck depth and at your underbust and connect. Then from that point you will draw your V neckline. A normal V neckline will be sharp till the end, but you can notice that this one started from that point where I measured my 0.75. This 0.75 inch will serve as a distance between the two breasts. I don't know if you get. It will serve as a distance. This is the distance between the two breasts. If you want, you can make it 0.5, but I like it when it is defined, so that's why I made it 0.75. So I will mark my back neckline. Make sure that the two of them are equal at the back. So the neck depth for the back will be deeper than that of the front. I don't know if you get. It will be deeper than that of the front. So I'll go ahead and cut out my back neckline, and after cutting out this back neckline, we are done with the back. That will be all for the back pattern. So I'll keep it aside. I'll keep the back part aside. We are done with it. So back to the front. You will curve your underbust like the way we do our corset. So from the dart line at the underbust, you will connect, you make a curve to meet the 0.5 inch on the bust point. Your curve should not cross that 0.75. Sorry, your curve should not cross the 0.75 line. Then from the other side of the dart, you will connect to your bust point too. This time it will reach the side of the bustier. You can see how it looks like. It did not stop halfway. The curve must surely reach the end part of the side. So this is how it looks like. Then from the point where you measure the 0.75 inch, you will start cutting. You start from there, then cut down to the bust point, and then cut through that curve that you made. So this, if you have made a corset before, you notice that this looks like a corset. The only difference is that the side curve reached the allowance side. The curve of the side reached the allowance. So this is how it looks like. Our corset, our back up side is out now. So I'll go ahead and close this dart. I want to close it on the pattern paper before cutting it out on the fabric. So I'll go ahead and remove my 1 inch for that. Then I will add a gum, and after adding a gum, I will come back and show you guys. I'll use a gum to close it. If you have your masking tape or your cello tape, you can use it to close the dart. So back to the back up side, you cut out the darts. If you want, you can leave it, but you cut it out. So if you close your darts, this is how it look like if you close your darts. But for now, I'll go ahead and start the slash and spread method. We all know the popular slash and spread method. This is what I will use on this bra cup area in order to achieve the gather on the bust. I don't know if you get, if you check the picture, you will notice that it has gathers under it. So back to the under bust, back to the main bodice, I've added the gum, so I'll go ahead and close it slightly. I will not use up to 0.2 inch to close it. So this is how it look like. I have closed it. So if I turn the back, you see how it looks like at the back. So the under bust downwards is okay now, so I'll keep it by the side. So back to the breast cup, you go ahead and draw like 3 lines. First of all, determine the midpoint of the shoulder. So if I measure this shoulder, I have 4 inches. So the midpoint is 2. The midpoint of the remaining part of the shoulder is 2 inches. It is 4, the midpoint is 2. So from that midpoint, you will draw like 3 lines down to the breast curve, down to the under bust curve. You will draw like 3 lines. All of them will start from that midpoint and down to the curve area. So you go ahead and slash. You see how I did it. You slash this line so that it will reach that midpoint. You slash it to meet the midpoint of the shoulder. Then you will slant the last one. So it couldn't open so well. I'll go ahead and slant it so that it will reach almost the end point so that it can spread well. So this is how it looks like. You go ahead and spread it this way. You can see how I spreaded it. If you want the gathers to be full, you spread it more. You have like 5 slash or 4. So this is the fabric that we use. I'll go ahead and cut the main bodice. That is from the under bust down. That is what I'll cut. And remember that the center front will be unfold. There will be no joining in between. So you can see where I placed the center front. It is unfold on the fabric. So I'll go ahead and cut it. I'll add 1/2 inch round that curve area. You will notice it. The fabric is 1/2 inch bigger at the curve area. So this is the allowance that I will use to join the bra cup to the fabric. I don't know if you get. So remember to add 1/2 inch allowance round that curve area. Please do not forget. So I'll keep it aside and I'll go ahead and cut the back part. The back part will have an opening at the back because that is where I will attach the zipper. So after cutting the back part, please remember to notch your dart. If you want the back part to have a princess dart, fine, you can go ahead and add your princess dart, but for this one I'll add a normal dart. So the back part, one side did not reach, well, let me ignore it for now because I'll still trim off 2 inches at the allowance part. So here is the satin that I will use for this dress. This is a red satin. I will fold it, then I'll introduce my pattern paper. I'll fold it, and after folding I'll introduce my pattern paper and then spread. So after spreading it, you go ahead and connect the lines. You use a chalk and connect the curve areas, the open part. So then connect your shoulder as well. Then when cutting, please remember to add 0.5-inch allowance at the curve area. This is the allowance that we use to join this cup to the main fabric, to the main bodice. Please, when cutting the down part, please add 1/2 inch and also 1/2 inch at that bust point at the center front area. You can notice it because that is the allowance that you use to join this cup to the main fabric. So I have 2 pieces here. So if I remove this and pleat, this is how it will look like. So I'll go ahead and cut out their lining. I will use the satin also as the lining. So if you place this on the pattern, let me illustrate it. This is how it will look like. So I'll go ahead and cut the lining. I want to use the satin as the lining also in order to have a good finishing. So I have cut out their lining, so I'll go ahead and pair them. So this is for the sleeve. The sleeve is a long sleeve with a puff. It's a puffy long sleeve, though it will not be that big. It will be a kind of moderate. So I'll go ahead and mark 22 inches for the sleeve. It is 21 plus 1 inch seam allowance, that is 22. So I'll go ahead and cut out the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and keep this sleeve aside. So I'll go ahead and cut out the band for the sleeve. If you check the sleeve very well, you will notice that it has a band at the down part. So I'll fold my fabric, I'll fold it 4 times and then fold again. So I'll measure the width of the band and then cut out. So I have added an interface to the fabric and the lining. I'll add it to all of them except the satin part. I will not add any interface on the satin part. So if you place it, this is how it look like. It will be taking shape gradually. So the first thing that we do is to turn the neckline of this satin. Remember, the neckline is on this satin, that V part, you can see it. So I'll go to my sewing machine and turn that part. So this is the lining for the front. And this is the lining for the back, and this is the fabric for the back. I added an interface to the lining, so I'll go ahead and turn the neckline and the sides of these back parts. So remember to add your darts, and I'll also go and close the neckline of the satin. So I am done closing the neckline of the satin, and this is how it looks like. So I'll turn it over and iron it so well. So I am done ironing, and this is how it looks like. Then the next thing that we do is to place it on the main fabric and pleat. I'll show you guys how to do it, but before that I'll run a stitch round it at the down part. So I am now running a stitch round it to hold the lining and the fabric together. So this is what I'll do. I'll place it this way. I'll leave half an inch at the center front. I don't know if you get. At the upper part of the center, I'll come in by half an inch. So if you are pinning, you come down by half an inch before you pin it down. So I'll go ahead and pin it down so that it will not shift when sewing. Come down by half an inch because you will use the half an inch to join the lining and the fabric. So pin it this way. So you go ahead and sew, then make your gathers. Make your gathers to be around the dart area. So I'll do that and then come back and show you guys. So this is how it looks like. I have joined it and I have pleated it at the underbust. If you make any mistake, please loosen it and retry it, because I made a mistake as well. The curvy part might be hard for you to sew, but if there's any mistake at all, please retry. So after that, I'll pin my lining to it. Then I'll use the lining to also cover the curved area. I will sew around the curved area to cover the thread and the joining there. So I am done turning the two. I'll go ahead and turn it out. So if you turn it out, this is how it look like. So if you have any mistake, please feel free to retry it. So if I turn the back of this front part, you will notice that you will not see the place where I joined the gathers at. So this is the back. I have closed it, I have turned the sides, and I have also joined my zipper allowance. So this is the front. I have turned the upper part and I've also turned the sides and I have ironed them so well. So if I turn the front part, you will notice that you will not see where I joined the gathers from or at. So this is very, very nice. Please join the bra cup differently and then turn it with the lining. So I'll go ahead and mark my bust. After marking my bust, I'll mark my waist measurements. So I'll not join the shoulder for now. I'll go ahead and join the sides and then come back and show you guys. So this is the sleeve. I am done turning the sleeve with its band. My own band is a kind of longer because I wanted it that way. So I am done joining the front and the back together. So for the shoulder, I'll show you what to do. When you come to this shoulder part, please reduce the shoulder of the front by at least 0.75 inch. This is called shoulder tightening, so reduce it by 0.5 inch so that it will relax so well on your shoulder. You reduce only the front part by 0.5 inch, 0.75 inch. So I am done joining the front and the back, and this is how it looks like. So I'll go ahead and cut my half length. So I'll place my under bust at the under bust, that is 13, and from there I will mark my half length and then add half an inch for joining the upper part and the lower part. You know, you don't know your bust points on this dress right now, so the under bust is the only known measurement. So if your under bust is 14, place that 14 at your under bust, and from there you will determine your half length. I don't know if you get. So I will trim the shoulder. Please, for this dress, if your shoulder is 14, make it 13. If the shoulder is 15, make it 14, so that everything will relax. So I am done trimming the armhole. If there's any problem, you can as well adjust it. I'll open the zipper allowance and then trim the excess. So after trimming the excess, I will double stitch the loose areas and then add my sleeve. So this is my sleeve. I'll go ahead and add my sleeve and my embellishment. So after adding my trimmings, this is the finished look. This is so beautiful, as you can see. So any down part that you want to attach to this dress, attach it. It will be so fine. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting me. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. If you have any video requests, please drop it in the comment section and I'll reply you. Thank you guys for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.